Welcome to VaderBox. I'm Bambi Francisco, and with me always is Ezra Roizen, a VaderBox regular, and once again we have Esther Dyson, a web luminary, as our guest host. And Ezra, thanks for joining us, and Esther, thank you once again for being our guest host.
Glad to be here.
This week, what are we going
Social
to talk about?
News, aggregation, and filtering, and Indaba, a new company doing stuff with music and collaboration around the creation of music.
Okay, and then we're going to look at the pitch, we're going to talk about the novelty of the idea, and look at the challenges, and whether this company can be a business, and then we'll look at various liquid scenarios and exits. So let's start with, who should we start with? Social Media? Let's start with them.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Goldberg and I'm the founder and CEO of Social Median. Social Median is a new type of social news site that delivers the news you need to know on a given day. The way that Social Median works is it's all about delivering personalized news on topics you care about, and the way that we do that is by helping you discover, track, and share news with people who share your interests. So the idea is that for any topic you might be interested in, there's a set of other people out there who might also be interested in that topic, and you can help each other figure out what's worth reading on a given day. Those people that could help you get the news on Social Media could be from people who you know in real life, or people you know through your social networks.
What I like about the idea, I'm a big fan of news aggregation sites generally. I like different slices of the pie in terms of how you think about how to organize information on the internet. What I think is clever what they're doing is versus like a news gator, which is just feeding sites on in a sort of aggregate basis, whatever the site put forward in their list through their feed. These guys actually are creating feeds around context down to the article level and saying, people we think like you, in theory, people we think like you liked this article of this selection the most, so read this one over this one over this one. And I think that could be a really useful platform for getting to the news you most
User-generated feed or dig.
Well, it's user-edited. It's user-edited content.
Yeah. Yes.
Or user-selected.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. What I also like in talking to the founder is that he's very rational about his valuation and capitalization expectations, and he's only raised like whatever $500,000, and he's like, I don't really want to raise a lot of money. I want to keep things small. I don't think we'll see how big a business this is, but he's very smart about managing the equilibrium between the amount of money he raises, his exit potential, and the business he builds. So I think it's nice to see people who aren't saying I need to raise $50 million, because most likely the person they hose first by raising $50 million is themselves, and then secondarily the investor.
That's his last round for his other company that he did.
So he learned though, which is good. I probably shouldn't say it doesn't really help my business because we like to lose a lot of money, but the point being that I think he's very smart about his approach.
It is, I mean, I'm using Social Media now. I created a channel. That's the whole idea, that people create user-generated topics and networks, and you have a number of other people selecting which pieces of news content out there should be part of that channel. And so I'm using it, and I think that it's kind of nice to get news from other people about a particular topic, but Esther and I, we were talking about this before, there's so much information out there, and how much better are those pieces of content in those networks than elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, this is really a problem. I love Jason. He's smart, he's experienced, and if I did invest in it, it would be on the basis of him running it. But the real challenge is, how do you differentiate yourself from the 9 other things like this, from the fact that I'd rather read 4 blogs and then kind of randomly look at other stuff. I mean, there's just too much stuff out there, and maybe 1 or 2 of them will bubble to the top, and possibly it will be this one. But I wouldn't bet on the sector because I think it's just too crowded.
Do you think that a company like Dig, or because it is what it's doing, is sort of cutting up Dig into different topics?
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that a company like Dig, or these news aggregation sites, could do something very similar? Just turn it on where you can now start digging to different topics.
Yeah, or Facebook does it de facto. I mean, this is the real problem. There's so many news feeds going up and down the wazoo, and you just, so select, I could follow you on Facebook, I could
I'm not
follow
very
you
active there, but...
Okay, but, that's the thing. There's so many different ways
to follow people.
So the whole area is just getting kind of flat and a little decentralized, which is great, but decentralization also means there's not one dominant player, which is what investors like.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest mover in this category right now, they're not really comparable with social media, but is Yahoo Buzz, which is just completely taking over in terms of, if you go to the sharing, if you look now at the trend of the number of sharing icons that are getting bumped into a group of sharing icons, then Buzz is kicking butt. So they've actually focused on the monetization side. They have a very clever model where they're doing back-end ad splits and all this kind of stuff. So there's sharing leading into recommendation, leading into publishing, and the thing that Yahoo figured out was, hey, we have a homepage that gets millions and millions of users, and we can put stuff on the front of it, and the publishers really appreciate it, and so their recommendation engine is now getting really effective. So I think there's going to be new business models and new ways people find content, and Buzz being a great one that's really sort of cracked the code on how to make the whole engine work. And I think they will have to learn from those different models to figure out how to make a really effective business model.
Yeah, but the reality of it is, in a sense, the business models don't compete. What really competes is it's the carving up of the user's time. You know, whatever business model you use to address me, the thing you're monetizing is my time, and my time is now being split across all these different sites that spend my time, some with entertainment, some with news. And so what all these guys want to do is just get more eyeballs and more time, and it's a really challenging business, as opposed to let's get some specific eyeballs around disease or around travel. The vertical thing to me seems to be a little more sustainable commercially.
Well, I think that's why he's starting small.
Yeah.
He says on the site clearly this is beta. Well, every site says that, but he's trying to iterate with his consumer base. So exactly,
well, you know,
it's all over the place.
If I'm ever rude to somebody, I'll just tell them, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was just one of my beta days."
I like that. So okay, would you invest in this company?
I actually got asked, and I really liked Jason, and I passed, partly because I didn't have any money, so it made the decision easy.
It's because you're going to space.
Yeah.
I keep bringing that up. Okay, it's time for that Liquid Scenarios Minute. So let's see what Liquid Scenarios has to say about Social Median's valuation. Assuming the first tranche was common and the new tranche is structured as a light Series A1 round, Liquid Scenarios estimates that Social Median's Series A1 pre-money valuation was around $2 million. That's based on comps and assuming investors took around 25%. Based on the small amount of outside money taken by historical analogs such as Reddit, Newsvine, Nuru, and StumbleUpon, we believe Social Median will try for an exit rather than additional rounds of financing. Using StumbleUpon's $75 million exit to eBay at about a 10-to-1 unique visitor ratio, social media could be worth about $7.5 million in the near term and could build value throughout the next year towards a $15 to $25 million exit. At the top end, the Series A investors would get over a 12x return, and founders would walk away with around $12.5 million. That's the Liquid Scenarios Minute.
I think the StumbleUpon exit is the most favorable comparable you're going to find for the category. So I would say more like the Reddit exit than the StumbleUpon exit.
Which Reddit exit was what, $1 million or 10 to 20?
I think it was in that range, I think. And so I think that there's a range of exits that are possible, but I think the Stumble one came in a very good time in the market when valuations were just sort of coming back up.
Oh, yeah, they hit it right. That was this last year.
They hit it just right with 2 years,
last year
and a half ago, the eBay.
Okay.
But I think that's a very favorable comp, but cool business. If they can get a lot of traction and they can figure out a new way of reducing the time people spend finding great information, then great.
Yeah, well, I'm using it, so I think it'll take time to bake, but I think that you just have to get enough users on there to actually submit stories. Okay, let's start with Esther. Any comments on Liquid Scenarios analysis? Sounds great.
Sounds generous, to be honest.
Okay, let's go. Let's look at.
But we hope it happens.
Daba.
Yes, he's a nice guy.
It'd be helpful for everyone in this around this table. Maybe not Esther. She wants to keep valuation below, at least when she's investing. Okay, let's look at Indaba. I really like this site. This is a site that enables artists to collaborate on music. It has about 75,000 people already in its email list. Let's take a look.
Say you're just another amateur musician with no connections, no money, and no ride, but you want to record with a professional from New York. Used to be impossible, but not anymore.
Right now we're in Washington, D.C. We're in Upper Northwest. We're in my basement.
That's Nate Weand, a.k.a. Disposable Love. He's an amateur hip-hop artist who you've probably never heard of before. But by simply going to indavamusic.com, he's just collaborated on a song from hundreds of miles away with New York City resident and renowned professional saxophonist J.D. Allen without ever leaving his basement.
Indava Music is a website that enables musicians to collaborate with each other online no matter where they are in the world. So it's kind of part social network and part web application. Musicians can find each other and then actually create online recording sessions and create music together.
Okay, I like that idea. Jam with somebody thousands of miles away.
I mean, on one hand, I like it. On the other hand, it feels like a site that could create a lot of Milli Vanillis and Vanilla Ices. that could really bring a new low to the quality of music globally. But I think that
or potentially high
launch new artists.
Both.
Taking the positive view.
Yeah.
And Milli Vanilli still every once in a while breaks out on, Alice or something. So someone's getting a royalty check. So I think the cool collaboration, I just don't know the size. How big is the market of people basically doing online music mashups with musicians all over the place? Is that...
I'm sure there's tons of people doing that. The question is, what
there's
is
also
the...
Guitar Heroes, and you don't,
there's
you
Guitar
don't
Heroes.
need...
But that's a little bit...
Yeah.
I thought Guitar Heroes was more of an instructional how to play guitar. This is sort of bringing people together to jam, to create something new, create a new genre, new beats, or, as my sister would say, new riffs.
Yeah.
Something like that. Did I get that right?
I mean, I guess there's Dance Jam, MC Hammer's dance thing.
But you don't get people, you can't dance with somebody 3,000 miles away.
It was very interactive, it was instructional, it was, getting access to find things where people could do auditions. I mean, there was a lot of activity to it. There was a lot of sort of output, not just the social network aspect where you can watch videos, but there's other things that are happening on or are other things happening on Dance Jam. There's Remix, the guys in Southern California doing the sort of music.
But that's mostly hip hop. This is broader.
Seems, well, at least hip hop's part of this, is my guess.
Yeah, but this is anything.
This is anything.
Yeah, you could have two guys playing a violin duet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, you're invested in a site, not similar, but a music site.
It's e-jamming. It's somewhat similar. I don't know enough about this, so certainly I'd recuse myself from saying anything vigorous in one direction or the other. I think it's a good concept. This is something where the technology really matters. Are they really well synchronized? Because if you have too much latency, it's just not going to work. And I don't know technically how good it is.
Yeah. Business model. What do you think the business model? I don't know what the business model is of the company you're invested in, but right now
they are... royalties is the primary business model.
No. What you really want is something more like pay to play.
Pay to play.
Well, here's an interesting. So I know they just launched something with Third Eye Blind. I think that's the name of the band that Mariah Carey as well.
That's great.
So what they're trying to do is, there's still a lot of artists trying to figure out how do you reach out to your audience? How do you leverage the web to connect with your audience? So from what I understand, Mariah Carey, this is how I found out about them, by the way. I got an email, and then they also came onto Vader. But I got an email that said, please vote for me. I am jamming with Mariah Carey. This is what I've done with her music. What do you think? And they get paid by the marketers of these musicians. So that's their model, is go to the marketing arm.
That's
this
great.
reminds me
we saw
of
I Beat You using Jessica Alba and other celebs to get traction by attracting audiences.
Right.
And I think that's a clever strategy. We talked about it with Tim Chang from Norwest. You get people who have audiences. So you can either go to the social networks where the communities are, or you can go to the celebrities where the audiences are and pull them in and attract a certain degree of audience.
Well, it's like the model of Moses, which is basically just tapping into the marketing arms and the promoters of these musicians or artists.
Right.
If you go to Vader's homepage.
Go to Vader's homepage?
And go to the right 2 stories there. Ollie would be the person for these guys to talk to, because he spent a long time with GarageBand before he finally got what I like. And,
that's
and
true.
I think that, if you could essentially go onto Vader and look at the I Like history and story, I think that there's a long time going through GarageBand, going through indie music, and then and frankly ending up back at popular music when they finally got a really, really big business model. So I think the trick becomes, how do you make money in indie music? It's probably not on the music. It's probably on something like the experience.
Yeah. Touring, T-shirts.
Something else.
Yeah.
I think that could be great. Active social network, active community, very passionate community, people who are all aspiring. You can bring celebrities in. There's probably a lot of energy there. The question is how big.
Well, this company apparently, at least from what we don't see, that they've raised any money. Liquid Scenarios doesn't have any information on them raising any money either, so probably a good candidate for a little angel investing. So,
or they're going to give a great return to the guy who started it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if they, they already have an email list of 75,000.
Yeah, if he can do it without raising money, he's much better off.
He's better off doing it without raising money and getting to the point where he's
Don't
profitable.
raise money,
so
build a good audience, sell guitar picks and mics and everything you can possibly sell those people. And make a big commercialization engine over your email list and do that.
Lead gen.
And then sell to Nintendo.
And then sell to Nintendo as their social network in a couple of years.
Okay, so Social Median or Indaba, which company would you guys invest in? Well, maybe Indaba.
I would happily not invest in Indaba and wish him very well and tell him that taking no venture is a great route and that he can make a ton of money, a great income, and have a great time running a nice small business.
Right. And
me too. And then I'd put my money in Social Median.
Yeah, that's it.
But I'd try to keep the valuation low. I wouldn't ask a lot of other people to pile in as well.
Yeah, and that's probably because we know Jason.
Yes.
So he's somebody that's.
But I do like the Indaba model.
I like the Indaba. I'm going to go the other way. Sorry, Jason, but there's a lot of new sites. I think he's doing a great job, but I would just put a little bit in Indaba only because they haven't raised anything. It's probably really low, and I like the idea.
Because you're a wannabe musician too.
I just want to be contrarian, and I want to. Yeah, exactly. That's the real point, the real reason. Okay. So that's it for this week's Vader Box. Esther, thank you again for joining us for this week, and Ezra, as always, thanks for just being my comic relief sidekick. So. You've been watching.
Respect.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for adding no value except for some laughs.
So you've been watching Vader Box. I'm Bambi Francisco, and we'll see you next time on Vader TV.